The View's studio had a strange electricity running through it that morning, something sharper, something restless, something that hinted trouble was brewing long before the cameras were even switched on. Crew members darted around with clipboards and cables, whispering to each other while glancing toward the panel table where Joy Behar sat with her arms crossed and her lips pressed together like she had already decided she wasn't going to be charmed by anyone. The audience filtered in, buzzing louder than usual. People recognized the day's guest the moment she stepped out for rehearsal. Leanne Morgan, the Southern comedy queen with a honey-sweet drawl and jokes sharper than sewing needles. Her fans were devoted, and they were loud. Every time she walked by, someone gasped or whispered, "Oh my gosh, she's hilarious," as though the air around her carried its own punchline. But Joy watched with narrowed eyes. It wasn't that Joy disliked comedians. She was one, after all. But Leanne's style, soft-spoken, warm, deceptively gentle, was the opposite of Joy's quicker, sharper edge. Something about Leanne's sweetness irritated her, as though Joy suspected it was a weapon disguised in lace. Whoopi greeted Leanne warmly as the countdown to live broadcast began. Leanne stuck out her hand and Whoopi pulled her into a hug instead. Even Sunny and Sarah lit up with unusually bright smiles when she joined them at the table. Joy only offered a small nod. When the cameras went live and the iconic music played, the audience roared. The lights swept across the table, catching Joy in a scowl, Leanne in a smile, and the rest of the hosts trying not to look nervous about whatever might unfold. "Welcome to The View," Whoopi announced. "Today, we've got the incomparable Leanne Morgan joining us." The crowd erupted again. Leanne waved, delighted. "Well hey, y'all, I'm more excited than a dog at a bacon festival." The audience cracked up. Even Whoopi chuckled. Joy didn't. Leanne settled comfortably into the open seat, crossing her legs and adjusting her bright, cheerful blouse. "My husband told me not to say anything crazy on here," she continued. "And I told him, well honey, that's like telling a cow not to moo." The laughter hit again. Joy's eyes flicked toward the audience, not with amusement but with a kind of irritated disbelief. Leanne was charming them too easily. Sarah leaned in, smiling. "We're so happy you're here. We all love your tour. Congratulations on the success." "Oh thank you, sweetheart," Leanne said. "You're just precious." Then her gaze slid to Joy. She smiled sweetly, too sweetly. "And Joy, you look like you've got thoughts already." Joy forced a thin smile. "Well, we'll see if you can keep up." The audience gave an ooh, sensing the first spark of something combustible. Leanne pressed a hand to her chest. "Well sweetheart, I brought antacids in case you give me indigestion." The studio blew up. Joy stiffened, her jaw tensing. She wasn't used to being teased by guests, not ones that did it this smoothly. The show moved along through a few lighter segments, what everyone was cooking for the holidays, winter travel disasters, and a short clip from Leanne's tour in which she joked about turning 50 and forgetting her children's names. The audience adored her, but Joy's arms remained crossed half the time. She offered small comments here and there, but her tone sharpened with each passing minute. She couldn't quite figure out how Leanne did it, how she stayed light and adorable while delivering nuclear-grade punchlines. Sunny eventually shifted the conversation. "Leanne, as a comedian, do you feel people today are too easily offended?" Leanne thought for a moment. "I think folks are just stressed. They're tired. Bless 'em. The world's a mess, and humor's how some of us survive. Now, I don't try to hurt feelings, I just talk about my marriage and my kids and my hormones revolting against me." Joy cut in before she could finish. "Some people use Southern charm as an excuse not to evolve." The room went still for a beat. Leanne turned toward her slowly, blinking, then smiled with a syrupy softness that could either soothe or sting. "Joy, honey, I don't think charm is your issue." The audience erupted so violently that Whoopi slapped the table. Sunny nearly fell back in her chair. Even crew members behind the cameras covered their mouths. Joy blinked twice, stunned. Leanne leaned forward, voice dipping into a conspiratorial whisper that the microphone still caught perfectly. "You remind me of my Mima when she gets grumpy. She gets this little crease right here," she pointed to her own forehead, "and we all know to hide the remote control so she doesn't start yelling at the Weather Channel." More laughter. Joy inhaled sharply, visibly restraining the urge to snap. Backstage after the commercial break, the tension felt sharp enough to slice through. The View's staff exchanged frantic looks, unsure whether Joy would settle down or erupt the moment she returned to the table. Joy walked in a straight line like a storm cloud with legs, her jaw clenched, her hands stiff at her sides, and her eyes burning with a quiet rage that no one dared to interrupt. Leanne, on the other hand, seemed painfully unaware, or expertly pretending to be, of the chaos she had ignited. She sipped her tea in the green room, humming lightly, her posture loose and relaxed. It was the kind of calm that made Joy even angrier. Crew members watched them both the way people watch dogs in the park, where one is wagging its tail and the other is foaming at the mouth. When they were called back on stage, Joy was the last to sit, slamming her note cards down with a little more force than necessary. The audience, still electric from the earlier exchanges, buzzed like they were watching a boxing match with two very mismatched fighters, one swinging wildly, the other smiling sweetly while casually dodging every hit. Whoopi tried to steer the show toward a safer topic. "All right, welcome back. Before we get into viewer questions, Leanne, your new Netflix special is already climbing the charts." "Congrats." Leanne clasped her hands. "Oh, thank you, darlin'. My husband said if I don't spend the money wisely, he's gonna make me take a budgeting class, so I'm feeling a lot of pressure." The crowd laughed, but Joy was simmering and searching for any opportunity to regain the upper hand. "What kind of comedy do you consider it?" Joy asked, her tone deceptively casual. "Because some people might say it's simple." The shift was instant. The laughter faded. Sunny shot Joy a warning look. Sarah inhaled sharply. Whoopi closed her eyes, already knowing where this was headed. Leanne, however, only tilted her head as though receiving a compliment. "Simple. Oh honey, I love simple. My whole life is simple. My cooking is simple. My husband is simple. My bra straps are simple. Why complicate things?" The audience burst out laughing. Joy's eyes widened in disbelief. She had been trying to set up a jab, and Leanne somehow turned it into an applause line. Joy leaned forward. "But don't you ever feel like you should push yourself? Challenge your craft?" Leanne smiled sweetly. "Oh, I challenge myself every day, sweetheart. I raised 3 kids. I survived menopause. And now I'm sitting next to you." People screamed laughing. Whoopi slapped her knee. Sarah had to physically turn away from the camera so they wouldn't film her face contorting. Joy's nostrils flared. "You think you're funny," she said, with a cold edge. "Oh, I pray so," Leanne replied with a soft laugh. "Otherwise my career's in terrible shape." Another wave of laughter rolled through the room. Whoopi tried to rescue the moment. Okay, let's keep it moving." But Joy wasn't letting go. She saw the audience, saw the rising warmth toward Leanne, and it made her feel replaced, overshadowed, and most dangerously, irrelevant. Joy Behar had spent decades mastering sharp comedic timing, political wit, and standing her ground. Yet here she was, being dismantled by a smiling woman who talked about casseroles and menopause like they were sacred mysteries. Joy went for the jugular. "If your comedy is so relatable, why do you think it works mostly with women your age?" she asked, her tone dripping with condescension. The air sucked in around them like a vacuum. Leanne didn't blink. "Well, sweetness, that's probably because women my age actually have life experience." The crowd howled. Joy's face went scarlet. Leanne leaned just slightly forward, her tone still sugar-sweet but her eyes sharp now, a signal that she was fully aware of what she was doing. "And no offense, Joy, but I've met teenagers with less attitude." The laughter didn't just explode, it detonated. The studio erupted so hard that security actually stepped forward from the wings, unsure whether Joy was about to blow. Joy snapped. She slammed her palm on the table, startling the entire panel. "You know what? I'm done with this. If this show wants to bring on people who spend half their time insulting me, then maybe I don't need to be here." The audience gasped, some covering their mouths. Sarah called out, Joy, come on." But she wasn't hearing anyone. She stood abruptly, her mic wire tugging against her chair. The producers shouted from offstage, but Joy ignored them and pushed the chair back so hard it nearly toppled. "Every time we get a guest who tries to be cute, this happens," Joy said, pointing toward Leanne. "You cross a line." Leanne blinked innocently. "Well, I didn't mean to cross any line, sweetheart. I was just trying to match your energy." That line was the kill shot. The audience roared. Joy froze in her tracks, each word hitting her like a slap. Something flickered across her face. Hurt, embarrassment, anger, all tangled into one uncontrollable emotion. And then Joy said the words no one expected to hear. "You know what? I quit. I'm not doing this today. I'm out. I'm done." Gasps, shouts. The crew scrambled. Whoopi looked stunned for the first time in years. Joy ripped off her mic pack and dropped it onto the table so loudly it echoed. She stormed off the stage, weaving past cameras, ignoring the calls of producers and the stunned silence of the audience.